Ghouls, guys and gals, and welcome to the Haunted Library. Today I will be reading Silver Spoons. So gather around, my little darlings. Book, come now, come. Silver Spoons. You're not supposed to be down here, Tegan said, side-eyeing the pouting blonde. Leaning over the pool table, he lined up his shot. The cue ball smacked into the green six, sending it into the corner center pocket. Employees only. I know. I saw the sign. Putting on his brightest smile, Sebastian shoved his hands in his khaki shorts. My name is... Everybody knows who you are, Tennis Bracelet. Daddy has all that money and you still can't read, huh? Flashing a devilish grin, Tegan leaned against the worn pool table. Well, that is rude. My name isn't Tennis Bracelet. It's Sebastian. I came down here looking for someone. Plopping down on the torn plaid sofa, Sebastian crossed his legs. Folding his hands in his lap, he kept Tegan's ember gaze. Well, Sebastian. Giving him a clumsy curtsy, Tegan turned back to his game. I doubt you know anyone down here. Sending the cue ball flying, the orange three hit the pocket. Smirking, he lined up his next shot. I'm looking for Tegan. I heard he's a friend of Dorothy's. Tegan cursed under his breath, his pool stick tearing a new hole in the faded green felt. What the fuck are you talking about, Tennis Bracelet? You can't just come down here spewing nonsense. People have gotten canned for less. Shrinking back into his seat, Sebastian toyed with the loose threads on the cushion. I'm not really sure what that means, he whimpered. His voice was almost lost in the rock ballad blasting from the speakers. Glancing at his watch, Tegan scrubbed a hand down his jaw. Tell you what, I hear Tegan hangs out at Vibe on Fridays. Now that you have taken up my lunch break, I have to get back to work. Snatching his black polo off of the back of the chair, he darted up the steps. Sebastian pulled his phone from his cargo pants, typing in Vibe. The smile died on his lips. Vibe was on 52nd Street. He had never wandered past Maine. Was it safe there? Or did that guy just want to hurt him? He pondered. A chorus of voices floated down the steps. Fear settling into his gut, Sebastian took to the stairs. After all, his shirt was worth more than the furnishings down here. Straightening his polo, he paused. Yanking the clean tuck from his shorts, he ruffled the shirt. Dipping into the men's locker room at the top of the stairs, the black wooden cabinets towered over his head. His sneakers padded along softly on the charcoal carpet. Flopping down into the black leather armchair in the sitting area, Sebastian kicked his shoes off. Towing the golden golf ball embroidered in the carpet, an old memory threatened to bubble up and choke him. He could recall it as if it was yesterday, finally turning 13 and being able to join his father at the club. He had practiced until his fingers bled to make his father proud at his first match. His mother would worry over his polo. Perfectly pressed is best, her mantra repeated in his mind. But that was before Annika came around. His mother had plunged into depression when the affair came to light, and then the Cyprian woman announced she was pregnant. His mother had turned into a cicada. Her formal self was gone. The only thing left was a shell. After the divorce, she moved in with her sister. 47 missed calls. Sebastian didn't warrant even one callback. Cursing under his breath, he pulled his sneakers back on. Flinging open his locker, Sebastian snatched his racket off the golden hook. Slamming the door, the wooden cabinet bounced open. His tennis shoes fell onto the floor. Motherfuck, he bellowed, kicking the cabinet. The attendant flinched, dropping the cleaning cloth. Shouldering past the cowering man, Sebastian stomped from the room. Spinning the black banded tennis racket in his hand, he stalked out the large glass double doors. His father glared at him as he approached the court. Putting his arm around Sebastian's shoulder, he pulled him in close. You look disheveled. This is unacceptable. We will talk about this later when you get home. Grayson snarled. Right, because I see you at home. Shrugging his shoulders, Sebastian broke away from his father. Flinging open the lofty gate, Sebastian rounded the court. Dribbling the neon yellow ball on his racket, he sent a serve flying past the net. "Watch it! I wasn't ready! You could have hurt someone!" The gangly boy across the court shrieked. Tossing the ball into the air, he served it across the net. Smirking, Sebastian put all his might into the swing, sending the ball soaring across the net, smashing into the fence on the other side, hoping to catch his father's approving gaze. Save the two of them. The court was empty. His shoulders dropped, the ferocity draining from him. His father hadn't watched him practice in months. Why would today change? Returning the serve, the ball went lazily over the net. Sebastian left the court without waiting to see if the pimple-faced teen would connect with it. His heart just wasn't in it. Pulling his phone from his pocket, he sent a quick text to Charles. Stashing his racket in his locker, his tennis shoes were tucked neatly back inside. The silver BMW was idling on the curb. Sebastian rolled his olive eyes, glaring at the blonde standing next to the car. Her bright pink dress was an eyesore even from this distance. Waving her arm wildly in greeting, Annika waited for him. Resting her hands on her very pregnant belly, she leans against the car. "Bastien, I know your dad was upset with you. He's just really stressed." "You do not get to call me that." Scrubbing his hand over his tan face, he growled, "This is not happening." "I know you're not excited about me being your stepmom, but I really do care about you. I want all four of us to be a happy family." Pouting, she stood, her hands on her hips. "Annika, you're literally 2 years older than me. This," he waved his hands over her, "isn't going to happen. Ever. Now move." Sliding into the back seat, Sebastian slammed the door. Shrieking, Annika stomped back toward the entrance. "My apologies, Sebastian." She swarmed the car as soon as it was in park. A hint of venom laced his words. Charles had been with the family since before Grayson had married Sarah. "Maybe she will die in labor," he grumbled, looking at pictures of Vibe on his phone. "Take me to the mall." "The mall, sir?" He glanced at him briefly in the rear view, pulling onto the highway. "I'm going to meet a friend tonight. I can't go like this. I'll look like a fish on the counter. Would you help me pick something out?" Sebastian leaned forward, big green eyes boring into his weathered face. Stifling a laugh with a snort, his brown eyes twinkled with humor. "Fish out of water, sir. I would be delighted to help you." Side-eyeing the eager young man, he smiled. That kid was the only good thing left at Kingston Manor. Novelli Mall was the towering temple dedicated to capitalism. The 3-story monstrosity had everything you could want. Every parking space in the vast lot was full. Thankful for the VIP garage, Charles found an empty spot. "I believe sun shower is what the kids are wearing these days. I take Bonnie at least once a month." Charles opened the back door. Sebastian's eyes were wide in awe. He ordered his clothes online. Going to the mall was something you did with friends. Well, the kids that were acceptable to hang out with wasn't anyone he wanted to keep company with. The sliding door opened. The cool AC rolled into the garage. The electric EDM music bumped from the speakers in the lounge. Tamping down his giddiness, he tried to keep his strides even. "Lead the way, Charles." Exiting the lounge, Sebastian felt like a kid again. The brightly colored business fronts and signs showcasing smiling people lined as far as he could see. Licking his lips as they passed the food court, the pretzels and cookies were piled high with icing and sugar sprinkles. Passing an Asian market, Sebastian was trying not to drool. "Have you eaten? Would you like to have lunch?" The growl of his stomach rumbled in its protest for the lie that was resting on his lips. "After we shop." "Of course, Bastien." Guiding them up the elevator to the 3rd floor, Sun Shower had a bright yellow sign over a gray archway. One side of the store was pink. The other side was decorated in deep blues. Walking between the rows of brightly colored clothes, he ran his hands over the fabric. The designs and patterns were just so loud. Why does it all look confetti-coated? Picking up a black shirt covered in geometric shapes, he scoffed at it. A child created this, I am sure of it. Chuckling, Charles picked out a cream-colored button-up with a gray pinstripe on the left side. Leafing through the charcoal pants, he pulled out a pair. Holding the outfit for Sebastian, he eyed it cautiously. Just try it on, Disappearing behind the blue curtain, he piled his clothes up on the chair. Spinning in a circle, he inspected himself in the mirror. It wasn't awful, he concluded. This will do. Beaming to himself in the mirror, he felt strange, like an outsider was wearing his body. His father would die if he saw him wearing this no-name gaudy outfit. His smile grew even wider. Carrying his wares to the counter, he eyed the carousel of gift cards. Sporting the store name, grabbing 4 $500 gift cards, he tossed them on the counter. Eyeing him nervously, the girl scanned them in. The total is $2,200. Standing smugly, she crossed her arms. Her jaw dropped when the receipt printed out. The food court had cleared out since they had gotten there. Stopping at every vendor, Sebastian bought something. Those pants might not fit tonight if you keep eating like that, Charles mused. I shall have them washed and ready for tonight. Smiling around his cinnamon pretzel, he accepted the box of pasta from the man in the cheap chef's hat. Okay, this is the last one. Following Charles back to the car, he danced to himself around bites of chicken. This might have been the best day of his life. Catching a glimpse of the old man smiling into the rearview mirror, Sebastian straightened in his seat. Charles, what time do people go to bars? You're meeting at a bar? His gray eyebrows shot up to his forehead. I haven't been to a bar since I had hair, but I recall around midnight was when I would start the prowl. What's the prowl? Do I need to bring something for that? Puzzled, he cocked his head. When I would stroll for ladies, sir. That was before I met Dottie. She turned me into a good man. A wistful smile played on his lips. Funny how life worked. Grayson threw his marriage away. Charles would give anything for a moment more. A laugh, a hug, a wink, anything more. Midnight. Got it. Looking out the window, he ate a piece of the sushi roll. The scenery whipped by, returning to the familiar greenery he had looked at for 22 years. The horseshoe driveway was half a mile long, tucked in between the walls of fir trees trimmed neatly. The sprawling white brick manor was a true beauty to be held on the outside, but on the inside, the house had a sickness. The driveway ended in a roundabout in front of the black double doors. In the center was a Yoshino cherry tree that loomed over the driveway. Delicate white blooms covered the tree. Putting the car in park, Charles let it idle. Hovering over the handle, Sebastian paused. Thanks for today. It was swell. Just give the outfit to Rosie and tell her to wash it for tonight. The rest is, for you. Jumping from the car, Sebastian ran up the smooth stone step. Puzzled, Charles rummaged inside the bag. A smile lit up his old face again. Pocketing the gift cards, he took to the servants' entrance. Kicking off his sneakers, Sebastian ran at his bed, landing the sloppy front flip on his pristinely made bed, sending the throw pillows flying onto the floor. Kicking his legs up the wall, Sebastian dug his phone from his shorts. Opening the web browser on his phone, he searched trendy hairstyles. The new outfit was no good if the hair gave him away. A soft rap on the door pulled him from his quest. Come in. Flopping over on his stomach, Sebastian beamed at Rosie. His outfit folded neatly in her arms. I hope I haven't kept you waiting. Putting the clothes on the bed, curtly she turned to leave. Hey, Rosie, you have kids, right? Of course, child. Could you help me with my hair? I want it to look like this. Holding the phone up to show her the smiling man in the photo, putting her glasses on her face, she leaned in. That looks easy enough. Kicking his feet, squealing, he hopped off the bed, dashing into the bathroom. Come on, Rosie, it's 10:30. The prowl is at midnight. The what? She muttered, shaking her head. Turning in a circle, he admired himself in the mirror. That funny feeling was back. A stranger was looking through his eyes in the mirror. Was this what it was like seeing your true self? Scrunching up his face, his eyes kept lingering back to the glucose reader. He didn't want to be the weird kid tonight. Pulling the sensor from his arm, he dropped it in the trash can. One night wouldn't hurt. Not like he was going to bring the insulin with him anyways. Busting out a happy dance, Sebastian cleared his throat, straightening. Skipping down the steps, he sent Charles a quick text. Bastian, ready for the prowl. Charles, I'll have the car ready, sir. The silver BMW idled at the base of the steps. The yellow golden glow of the headlights cast shadows over the shrubs. Sebastian shivered. He always thought about the monsters that could be hiding in the trees. Charles opened the back door, closing it softly behind him. Where are you meeting your friend tonight? Vibe. It's on 52nd Street, he said, false confidence filling his voice. Looking into the rearview mirror, shock covered his features. Hesitating before putting the car in drive, Charles cleared his throat. Yes, sir. Vibe. The dive bar was famous around these parts for opening in a building where 7 people were murdered a decade before. Recently, Charles heard rumors it was an unofficial hangout for the gay scene. The further they drove away from the wealthy heart of the city, the more and more trash coated the road. Graffiti sprang up on the building faces, green orbs glued to the homeless encampment under the overpass. The electric rock beat pumped out into the crowded street. Clusters of people huddled together, creating great clouds of smoke. The mix of cotton candy and peaches scented the air. Stopping the car in front, Sebastian took a deep breath. This was it. His move. Shall I wait out front, sir? No, that's okay. I'll text you when I'm ready. Shutting the car door, he tried to keep his gait calm. I didn't ask that jerk what Tegan looked like, he thought, panic swelling in his stomach. The dance music beat against his chest, as if he could feel the heartbeat on the outside. The dark-clad bodies jumped to the rhythm, the vibrant green and pink accents blurring his vision. Sebastian's spine stiffened as a pale hand wrapped around his waist. Sing with me, Siren. Do you feel that? She asked, running her hand over his back. The black fingerless gloves ended in long glow-in-the-dark nails. Grabbing his jaw, she spun him around. Feel what? The beat? He asked, frozen in fear. That's not a beat, man. It's the pulse of the universe. Snaking a fishnet-clad arm around his waist, she pulled him in close. Placing a blue tab on her tongue, she leaned in closer. Hey, tennis bracelet. I thought you came here for Dorothy, not Molly. Laughing, Tegan pulled Sebastian away from her embrace. Huh? Who's Molly? Sebastian asked, glaring at the man holding on his arm. Aw, T, you are no fun, she purred, retreating from the dance floor. T? Arching an eyebrow, blue eyes locked onto his amber ones. Hi, my name's Tegan. Smiling a wolfish grin, he kissed the back of Sebastian's tan hand. You're Tegan? Why didn't you say so? You never asked me my name. Just if I like guys. Shrugging, they weaved their way back to the crowded bar. So, are you? Are you a friend of Dorothy? Well, my name is Tegan, and I like long walks on the beach and Chinese food. What does that have to do with anything? Since you don't know me, you shouldn't open with that question. Propping his elbows up on the bar, he pursed his lips. Are you a friend of hers? Yes, that's why I was looking for you. You know, gay guys just don't find all men attractive, right? I can tell you're making fun of me, he murmured, tucking his hands into his pockets. Perhaps this was a mistake. Chill, dude, it's a joke. Rich people make jokes, right? I'm not very good at picking up on social cues. Or sarcasm. Noted. So why did you need me? Twisting, Tegan dropped his head in his hand, his messy brown hair intertwined with his pale fingers. Well, now it feels a little weird to admit out loud. Yeah, 'cause this was so normal before, he said, laughing, holding his hand out, flagging down the bartender. Do you drink? Of course. The lie left a bitter taste on his tongue. Other than a sip of beer he had on accident when he was 7, he had never drank. 2 liquid marijuanas. I just had a favor. My father has a new wife, and it's like he doesn't remember I exist. So I was hoping you could pretend to be my boyfriend. I would pay you for your... Whoa. You want me to be your hooker, So Daddy notices you? His brown eyes pinned to his forehead, mouth hanging open in surprise. No. To be a hooker, you have to... You know. I just mean, I'll hang out at your house for a few days. I don't know if you would survive. I don't have cable or internet. Hell, I don't even have food. That's the secret behind this fabulous physique. I'll give you $30,000 for the week. It's like a Christmas gift or something. It's July, and that's more money than I make in a year. You rich people are so out of touch. Also, ATM's in the corner. Slurping up the rest of his drink, Sebastian pushed away from the bar. His head was swimming. The tingly feeling traveled to his toes. Leaning on the machine, he sloppily punched in his numbers. Fishing out the wad of cash, he shouldered back to the bar. Shoving the cash at Tegan's chest, he giggled on the bar stool. I have no idea how you make marijuana into a liquid, but that shit is delicious. Covering his mouth in shock, he giggled again. Bartender, 2 more. Wiggling his fingers up at the glitter-coated man. Tegan gasped at the stack of hundreds, shoving the money in his pockets. Dude, what the... Holding up a finger, Sebastian fished his phone from his pocket. The lit-up screen displayed Father calling. Hitting the green phone icon, Sebastian giggled again. Hello? Sebastian, I think your card has been stolen. It was used at a bar. Nope, that was me. I'm hanging out with my boyfriend. Giving Tegan a thumbs up. This is happening, he mumbled under his breath, scrubbing a hand down his face. Baby, come on, I want to dance, Tegan called into the phone. Well, you kids have fun then, Grayson replied with a click. He didn't even care. What do I have to do? Get kidnapped? Olive eyes glowing with mischief, he grinned at Tegan. You should kidnap me. Sucking down another drink, he burped, scrunching his nose. Okay, well, you're fucking insane. No. No. I'll already be there for a week. What's a little ransom letter? Besides, my father has way more money. Heck, ask for $500,000. I never even saw your face. Shrugging, he reached across the bar, picking up the other glowing green glass. Leaning back on his bar stool, Tegan stroked his chin. We could get into a lot of trouble for this. If we get caught, I'll just tell my father it was all my idea and you didn't know anything about it. Booping Tegan's nose, he giggled again. Let's get you sobered up and talk about this later. Helping Sebastian from the stool, he looped his arm around his waist, holding him up. They stumbled to the door. The flashing neon sign of the green light mart beckoned them like moths. Sitting Sebastian on the dirty brick ledge, Tegan stretched his back, groaning. For such a short guy, you weigh a ton. 5'10" isn't short. You're just huge. Well, that somehow feels rude. Sit here, I'll be right back. Smiling to himself, Sebastian hummed, tapping his foot to the imaginary beat. Tegan shouldered back through the doors, carrying a sack full of snacks and 2 large slushies. I didn't think to ask, but do you like blue raspberry or mango? What is it? A slushie. Duh. Taking the orange one, Sebastian took a sip, scrunching up his face. He took the blue cup. Taking a big gulp, his face lit up. Oh my God, I love slushies. Let's go. You are so drunk. Leaning on Tegan, they staggered down the street. The crumbling apartment building stood tall and bleak against the cloudy night sky. A large skull adorned the side of the building, white lilies concealing half. The thick black lettering read, "Disregard the living, pity the dead." This is home, Tegan announced, walking up the concrete steps. Elevators have been broken for a few years, so it's 5 flights up. So guess I'm trying to say don't fall. The ground is unforgiving. Holding the dingy door open to the stairwell, they ascended the steps. The door to the 5th floor was missing. The stairwell opened into a long hallway. The walls were a flat grayish color and grimy dark spots cropped up sporadically along the ceiling. Stopping in front of an off-white door with a worn placard that read 523. Don't say I didn't warn you. Try not to freak out, tennis bracelet. Tegan mumbled, putting his key into the lock. Lifting up on the sagging door, he twisted, pushing the door open into the dark apartment. Flicking on the switch, warm light dimly lit the living room. The room was empty, except for a worn-out green recliner that was sitting on the floor. A cardboard box was positioned next to it like a makeshift end table. Tegan flopped down on the chair, kicking his legs up on the armrest. Pull up a seat. There's, plenty of floor. I usually don't have guests. You're a minimalist, I see. Well, there's plenty of room for a ransom photo. If only we had a rope or something to make it look authentic. Sebastian sat cross-legged on the floor, polishing off his slushie. I do happen to have something. Making air quotes, Tegan pushed up out of his chair, disappearing into the room on the left. Sebastian could hear him rummaging around. Not trusting his legs to stand, he drummed on his shoes. Aha! He proclaimed, rounding the corner with shiny metal handcuffs. I borrowed these from a police friend of mine, so I had to make sure I found the key. Your dad is going to freak out. I guess we just sent him a photo with some mob shit and wait, huh? Holding his wrist out in front of him, Sebastian waited. They have to go behind you, silly. Shifting behind his back, Tegan fastened his wrist tightly in the cuffs. Where's your phone, dude? My pocket? I didn't think about that part. Flopping over on his side, he pushed his left hip into the air. You better not be planning anything weird. Reaching his fingertips into Sebastian's pockets, he pulled the phone out. Pointing the camera at him, it unlocked. Looming over him, Tegan snapped a picture. Pursing his lips together, he bent down and snapped another photo. Tapping his long fingers on his forearm, Tegan's face lit up. Hold on, this isn't right. I'll be right back. Don't move. Laughing at his own joke, he trotted back into the bedroom. Dangling a silver ball gag, he wiggled it at Sebastian. This should make it look more real. Did you borrow that from a police friend too? Like, is it even clean? You could say I did. Yeah, a leather-clad policeman. Of course it's clean. I wouldn't stage a kidnapping with a dirty gag. Pausing, Tegan scrunched his eyebrows. Okay, this situation is so fucked, a bad joke was even awkward. Squishing his cheeks, Sebastian's mouth puckered open. Shoving the ball gag inside, he fastened the black strap behind his head. Snapping another picture, he sighed. Only because your daddy is made of money? You did look really cute in this outfit today. Tegan leaned down and ripped the shirt open. The buttons scattered across the floor. Sebastian let out a howl in surprise. The gag muffled his shriek. Not even the neighbor snoring in the next unit heard him. The flash of the camera lit up the room again. Growling in frustration, he raked a hand through his messy hair. Now it looks like a BDSM photo shoot. I could really, really use that money. I mean, when you're so poor, you never even think about a life that might be better. It hurts too bad, you know? But $500,000? That's college. A house? A car that works? That could change my whole life a few times over. Pacing back and forth, Tegan kept giving him glances. Sebastian tried to rock into a sitting position but fell over. Huffing, he dropped his head on the ground. I was kind of hoping, after this we could still hang out, be friends. I've never had a friend, just some guys I could do a favor for. But this money, I need way more. I need this to look better. I know your daddy will be able to fix this right up. And you better keep your word about never seeing my face. Closing the gap between them, Tegan knelt and ran his thumb over Sebastian's cheek. His eyes were wide in terror. His chest rose and fell rapidly. Snot ran out from his nose. Tegan smiled his softest smile. Tears spilled over Sebastian's cheeks, splashing onto the floor, leaving spots in the dust. Drawing back, he punched him in the face. His eyebrow split open. Blood ran down into his eyes. Screaming, Sebastian tried to wiggle away from Tegan, but Tegan grabbed him by the shirt and slammed his fist into his face again and again. Sebastian fell limp. The tan of his face was overshadowed with blues and black. The flesh around his jade eyes swelling up, the gag held firmly in place. Blood trickled around the ball. Pulling him up by his blonde hair, Tegan snapped another picture. Dropping his head, he took another one. Scrolling through the contacts, he selected Mother and Father. Attaching the photo, his fingers flew across the keyboard. I have your son. And if you don't give me $500,000 in 48 hours, I'll kill him. You will never see Sebastian again. Pressing send, he flopped back into the chair. Pulling the enormous wad of cash from his pocket, he sat it on the box, amber eyes glowing misty. A soft purr of Sebastian's cell phone vibrating across the box stole his attention. His eyes tracked over the message again and again. Your dad replied, I'm not in the mood for your antics. Annika told me what you said. Get your ass home now. What's up with your dad? Tears streaming down his face, making a pink puddle under his head. Turning his face into his shoulder, he sobbed harder. Oof. Your mom saw it and didn't respond. Your family is kind of messed up. I feel really bad now. But this was your idea, remember? I didn't want to, but we're going to have to take it up a notch. His footsteps repeated, and the tinkling of metal and slamming drawers sounded in the other room. Wiggling over, Sebastian tried to see into the kitchen. His left eye was swollen shut. Craning his neck to see Tegan's frame filled the doorway, blocking out the light. The gleam of silver glinted in the dim light. Sebastian screamed into the gag, but only the muffled hum escaped. Scooting his body across the floor, he bumped into the wall. You are not going to want to look for this part. Be happy I suggested behind your back. Don't worry. I know after I take you home they can fix it. I'll even put it on ice. That works on the TV, keeps it fresh. Rolling Sebastian onto his stomach, Tegan pinned him with a knee. The boy thrashed under his weight. He wailed harder against the gag. Pulling at his wrist, the metal split open the tan flesh. Blood spilled on the wooden floor. Hold still. I don't want to mess this up. Tegan grunted, pulling Sebastian's shoulders up and slammed his face into the ground. Going limp, the rise and fall of his chest was steady against Tegan's hammering heart. Repositioning the shears, he clamped them shut, and grasping them with both hands, he squeezed them together. Ripping through the skin, blood squirted around the shears. Twisting them in a circle, the cheap kitchen shears stripped away the meat. The brown bone remained, holding the mutilated fingers to his right hand. Those are supposed to cut through chicken bones. Ha! Cursing, Tegan flung the shears across the room. Pulling a chef's knife from his pocket, he angled the blade one way. Pausing, he switched the angle. Standing up, he pushed Sebastian over on his right side. Gagged teeth protruded through his lip. The flaps were peeled back, exposing his gum. Sebastian's eyes fluttered open. Looking up at Tegan, his gigantic 6'4" frame had blood coating the front. Screaming and thrashing with a new strength, Sebastian kicked Tegan in the knee. Slipping in a puddle of blood, he landed on his butt. The knife cut his thigh as he fell, and Tegan's blood stained the floor too. Lashing out, his foot connected with Sebastian's stomach, lifting him off the ground. The air rushed from his lungs. Blood and snot ran down his puffy face. Stepping on his hand, Tegan pinned Sebastian on his side. Swinging the knife, the chop rang out like thunder. The blade was embedded into the wooden floor. 2 fingers bounced away like mutilated hot dogs. Sebastian whimpered as his eyes landed on the fingers now resting above his head. Tearing off a piece of his ripped t-shirt, Tegan bandaged up the grotesque hand. Retrieving the severed fingers, he retreated into the kitchen. Wrapping them carefully in a towel, he stowed them in the fridge. I really am sorry, Sebastian, but you don't get more than one shot to change your life. I gotta work later today. I'll drop the note at work. This'll be over soon, okay? Shuddering, Sebastian curled into himself, cowering against the wall as heavy sobs racked his body. Covering him with a threadbare blanket, Tegan flipped off the light. His footsteps retreated down the hallway. Straining his ear, Sebastian craned his head to peer up the hall. Rolling over onto his back, Sebastian bit back a cry. A fresh stream of blood poured out around his hands, soaking his pants. Rocking forward, he pushed himself up onto his butt. Biting the rubber gag, every muscle screamed. Trying to swallow, his throat felt like an ocean of sand. Pushing up to one knee, Sebastian tried his best to steady himself. The room around him blurred. The ramshackle room melted together. Swaying, he held his breath. Stumbling to his feet, He took a step. Sebastian's eyes were glued to the pools of blood. Looking down at his clothes, dried blood coated his chest. His button-up hung limply off his shoulder. Taking a step backward, he inched toward the door. Squinting into the darkness, he arched up on his tiptoes, reaching for the slide chain. Smashing the raw meat of his hand into the door, fresh tears streamed down his face. Gasping for breath, sent his head swimming. Dropping back onto his heels, a wave of nausea rolled over him, nudging the chain with his nose as he moved it across the track. Fresh blood smeared over his face, and the warm metallic liquid brought fresh bile into his throat. The overwhelming smell caused Sebastian to lurch forward. The vomit spewed around the ball. Coughing on the sweet, thick liquid, he swallowed it as fast as he could. The vomit threatened to come back up. Sliding the latch to the end, the small circle fell off the track, bouncing against the metal door. Sebastian froze in fear. Holding his breath, he listened for a footfall, a breath, a movement, anything. Backing up to the door, he slowly turned the knob, his bloody hand slipping on the handle. The door opened with a groan. Sliding through the crack, he closed the door with a soft click. Limping down the hallway, he leaned into the wall for support. Dragging his bloody shoulder, he smeared copper along the dingy wall. The clattering of cans made him jump, peering around the corner. His breath hitched. "Mom?" he called out, voice muted by the gag. "Mom, I'm here." Limping faster down the hallway, the smell of vanilla and jasmine engulfed his senses. Tears began to sting his eyes again. This is where she's been this whole time? Flinching at the shrill ding of the elevator, Sebastian pushed forward. He fell to his knees and watched helplessly as his mother's golden hair bobbed into the elevator. Glancing up at the arrows, the down arrow lit up in a bright orange, shining like fire against the moldy walls. Pushing to his feet, the world around him spun as if he was dropped into a Rubik's Cube. Leaning on the wall, he shook his head to clear it. The walls still held the appearance of a Salvador painting. Dragging his feet to the stairs, he sighed in relief for the first time. The elevator to the stairwell was missing. Sebastian had completed running drills on the stairs since he was in grade school, but not using his arms was a balancing feat. Cautiously descending the stairs, he braced against the wall. The abrasive brick wall tore at the skin on his elbow. A fresh stream of blood trickled down his arm. Looking over the railing, the floors below, the room began to spin. Faltering, he sagged against the brick. Focusing on his mother, he heaved one foot in front of the other. The neon exit lit up the first floor stairwell. Sebastian heard the ping as the elevator doors opened. Her curly blonde hair went past the window. Ramming his shoulder into the door remained closed. Crying out in frustration, Sebastian reached for the doorknob. Twisting the door open, he followed in the same direction. "Mom! Mom, it's me! I need your help! Please turn around! Mom!" he cried behind the rubber gag. His pleas for help were muffled to a whisper. Rounding the corner, he saw her pink tie-dye shirt passing through the building's exit. Shuffling as fast as he could, he broke free from the hellish apartment building. The night sky was full of stars, shining bright despite his pain. Tumbling down the steps, he landed on his right shoulder. The snap elevated his pain to new heights. Forcing himself back to his feet, Sebastian limped after his mother. His shoulders sagging, his arm dangled limp in the cuff. A deafening honk captured his attention. Bright yellow headlights engulfed him, chasing the shadows away. At that moment, his mother turned to him. Flashing a bright smile, she waved. Pain exploded through his entire body, the crunching of metal grating like a knife on china. Warmth flooded his senses. The smell of vanilla and jasmine submerged him deeper into the warmth. Far, far away in the tunnel, somewhere in the darkness, Sebastian heard screams. I guess you should be careful what you wish for, because you might get what you want in an unexpected way. Until next time, happy hauntings.